You'd love to have the footy in your half of the ground for 70% of the game. Can't lose. Let's see what the Dogs can do. From 46, there's Liberatore. In his first game, had a blistering first quarter, did Tom Liberatore.
Good player, Melksham, BT.
Yeah.
Showed a lot of promise in his first year.
He's looked very composed here today, been impressive, as you say, and he believed the substitute, as you can see there, Lovett Murray has been activated for the Bombers. David King will find out, unless you already know, Kingy, who the Bomber player is that's come off.
Howlett, boys, at this stage he's off. He's been red-shirted.
Okay. There he is, the red-vested. Howlett. Hocking. Hurley in the contest. Oh, there's Melksham. Gee, that's a clash of heads, I reckon. I hope Melksham's all right out of this. Got a thick head if he is, and he has.
He trained with us a couple of years ago, part of the OIS scenario with the AFL, and we were impressed with him then, super impressed. I was actually asking Rodney Eade, how can we draft this kid? So, just an outstanding talent.
Yeah, good. He's had some great coaching at the Calder Cannons along the way, and as you say, at the very elite level, top end as well, Brad. Stack to Williams, turns around and monsters the ball back to Grant. There's Cooney, kept the hands free. Great lesson for youngsters watching, even though the tackle was applied, still able to dispose of the ball. Lonigan to Hardingham, to Stanton. Now with Clearfield, they all tell him to just run. And this man here, Zaharakis, lines up on the fat side, chisels from 40. That typifies the Bombers like no other. Brilliant running, linking play from a young Bomber outfit.
Great play, and Kingy brought it up at three-quarter time in his review of that quarter, how the Bombers were able to spread from the contest with the Bulldog forwards still surrounding the contest. It was no different then, with the Bulldog forward and midfielders still caught at the contest. Essendon be able to spread from that, got through quite easily, and were able to finish with an easy goal.
Zaharakis kicks his second.
Well, every Bomber fan out there here and player would be absolutely excited except one, and that would be Howlett, who's on the boundary line. Ben Howlett is being red-shirted just at the time when it looks as if it's going to be an avalanche. I reckon David King would be extremely shirty if he got red-shirted in the same circumstances.
It's time for sweets, Gerard.
There's sweets. There's a bit of cream to be had here.
Absolutely. Cooney, brilliant tackle, Dempsey. There's Lovett Murray. Hill, who's been impressive today. David Hill. Paddy Ryder's been great.
Yeah, fact.
Here is Ryder. Lovett Murray wants it. He says, come on, I can run forward of you. Give it to me. And he does. Now Lovett Murray. A little sloppy. Presenting at the ball was Winderlick. That was his aim. But Murphy to cross.
Have you seen the use of Winderlick, Jono? It's an unusual one that's worked.
It is one that's worked normally, and I think he's got flexibility in his game because you can throw him to half-back if things aren't going well to try and create a bit more run through the midfield. But I like the way that he's really worked. He's worked extremely hard across half-forward today and presented, taken a good couple of strong grabs, kicked a couple of goals. He's done quite a good job.
Is it about just getting pace, genuine pace in that forward line to make sure
create
that
pressure?
Pressure?
Yeah, without a doubt.
Jetta. Just a little kick in the middle. Look at it open up now. Gee, if you've got vision and you can find that sort of kick to Dempsey, doesn't it help? McVeigh goes wide. An opportunity for Stanton. Was originally going to do it. Winderlick looks around. You know what? They're just trying to find the guy in the better position all the time, and McVeigh is it on this occasion. And that's impressive when they're not trying to do it themselves.
But Rocket will want to know, how can you have so much space? I mean, if you've got a zone, you've got to have a fair income zone. You can't have a massive hole in the middle of it.
Got to be committed to it, don't you? Everyone.
I mean, zones work if everybody works hard. If you just stand, they get exposed.
McVeigh doesn't let them down, gets his first. And the Bombers lead widens at the 4-minute mark of the final quarter to 58 points.
Jared, just from down here, Jared, it just looks like the Bulldogs are prepared to work at 100% when they're in possession and about 50% when they're not, particularly their half-forward line or that midfield section. They just don't value the game when they're not in possession as much as what the Bombers have today.
Well, David King, I'll ask you, is that ingrained in them as footballers, or can that be changed?
Well, I'll tell you what, if it's not changed, 2011 will be a waste of time, because that's the new black in the competition. If you can't harass and put pressure on in the midfield or the forward line, you can't consistently win games, and certainly the big games at the pointy end of the year. David King on Fox Sports, along with Brad Johnson and Gerard Healy today with their comments. Here's Sherman being hassled by a desperate Melksham. Like this young man's game today, Heppel been impressive, and Monfries. He's just such an adaptable player. Stanton. His role not all that dissimilar to Winderlich, is it? Almost as a sort of a permanent sort of forward plant.
I think he's going to be a swing man in some ways. He played in the NAB Cup, bit off half-back, bit through middle. Particularly on this ground, though, if they're going to play Watson forward, I think the counterbalance is they have to have quickish players around him when he goes down there.
How many times has Dempsey been that man in the middle with that space in the zone that you speak of, Gerard? Gee. He'd be enjoying the day.
So, Jono, I think a lot of sides can get caught out in round one. You just come in psychologically, you're not ready. You just sort of forget how tough the year is, and you come up against a group like Essendon who have been completely primed. Bombers were basically preparing for pre-season when the Dogs are playing prelim finals. But something has to change in a hurry.
Oh, the Dogs would be extremely disappointed. Last year, when winning the NAB Cup, we were sort of talking about didn't have that real big build-up into round one, because you get caught up in playing in, a pre-season grand final. Out in the first round this year, they would have been using that and saying, well, no, let's really build to round one. Now, they would have been looking at Essendon for the last probably month of the pre-season, as well as focusing on doing a few other different things. So they'd be disappointed with what display has been shown today.
Dogs turn it over again by foot. Zarakis, Hill just got it off the kneecap. And that's good enough these days. If you dispose of the ball in any form, it's regarded as a legal disposal. There's Hudson to Picken. Hammered in the tackle by big David Hill. And he's won himself a free as a result. Aren't they enjoying it, the fans?
I don't know how Picken was supposed to get rid of that ball.
He didn't have a lot of fire opportunity,
no,
did he?
He did. But a super tackle from Hill.
Ball's down then to whether you're making an attempt. And that must have been the decision.
You've got a bloke 6'10" line on top of you. It's pretty hard to get rid of it.
Ward. Murphy wants it wide, and that's where it's coming. Plays on immediately. Watson enabled him to do that. Kick to G and Syracuse, competitive in the air. Recovery now, 2-on-1. There it is again. Dempsey the loose. Stanton. 14 disposals for Courtney Dempsey today. 17 handball receives. In the link man, here's Griffin around the corner. Presents a nice ball to Grant, who can also draw Jones to the ball. Jones takes the mark uncontested. Hall wants it, but Jones wasn't balanced when Hall started his lead. Timing there has got to be better. He was still going in his backward motion when the fruit of... it was good patience in the end, wasn't it, to wait for this man, Josh Hill.
We just love to see a big bloke who's got foot skills like that.
What's your expectation of Josh Hill this year, Jono?
Yeah, look, it's a big year for Josh. Obviously, he was looking to get traded at the end of last season, and came back over the pre-season. Probably his skin folds are a little bit higher than what the club would have liked, but worked his way into the pre-season, got himself into some pretty good form over the NAB Cup, NAB Challenge period, and certainly deserved his chance to play today. Look, he started the game quite well, floating across half-back, and as most of the Dogs players have sort of faded a little bit as the game has gone on.
Hill converts the goal there. And the Dogs are back within 52 points. There's the kick Gerard spoke of. Jones's kick, magnificent.
Seems like a lot of blokes working their way into the pre-season, Jono. Well, it's a work in progress at the moment.
Working their way into the season now, Gerard.
They'll be looking to respond next week. I'm sure they will, because they have been ambushed here.
You expect him to be played. We saw him played as a sweeper in defence in the first quarter. Is he going to be a bit of a swing man, or is he going to be a back or a forward?
No, he'll have to be a bit of a swing man, especially you know, if some injuries do occur, especially down back. He'll have to do that. But he's more of a natural forward.
Yep. Picken, who's definitely a defensive type player.
Everybody was speaking about the tough first 5 weeks for the Bombers. Well, right now, given the form, they'll go in favourites against almost anyone.
They will indeed, because
got the Swans next week in Sydney. It'll be a tough game all round.
It will indeed for the Bombers, and then they play St Kilda here, then Carlton, then Collingwood.
And the Western Bulldogs, well, they've got a game that they would absolutely have penciled in as a win against the Brisbane Lions, and given the injuries to Jonathan Brown and Staker.
And then they play Gold Coast, Jared, and then they have the bye, so a chance to get some work done for the Dogs.
Lots of work needs to be done. In fact, they won't really be able to redeem themselves, BT, until they play an opposition they're expected to face in September if they get there.
Which doesn't come until round 6 when they play Collingwood. There's Melksham. Humphreys presents. Should have gone there. For some reason, he didn't take that kick, and now Watson.
Confidence is a massive thing in footy these days, and you look at Essendon, they're playing with that sort of confidence at the moment. Yeah, the Dogs will go home with their tails between their legs today, but in saying that, they've got a good couple of weeks to really build some confidence with each other in the way they want to play against some sides that they should beat.
Colin Ward. Liberatore, the run of Murphy, has tried to generate the run, in fairness to him, like he did there, Robert Murphy. Trying to get something to go, trying to show other people around him to run forward. And he has deliberately done that on a number of occasions today, just trying to encourage others. But it's been hard for the rest. Ryder, a little tap down to Lonergan, ricochet ball. They're behind high 42s, we believe, here today. Just 42,000 odd here today, which is a fantastic round run crowd at this stadium. Bombers home game. They're jumping back on board, the Bomber fans. Got the incredible coaching staff that they've assembled, the $5 million box. I don't know, Jared, how much it's worth, but it's impressive anyway.
Well, I think last count was 2.5 million, but add inflation, GST and carbon tax, and I think we can get it right up there.
Oh boy. Here's Jones.
It's going to be a short-term career though for James Hird. Given the current rate of improvement, he'll be aiming at Canberra very shortly.
Here's Higgins. He hasn't failed at much in his career, has he? Hill over the top with the one-hander. He's plucked it in with the one juke, and the umpire said, get on with it. He disappointed with that, Josh. There's Lovett Murray, who was the sub for those that have just joined us. He came on in that third quarter and replaced the injured Howlett, who has a bit of a knee issue, but not a major one. Heppel, the other sub, by the way, has been activated as well. Sherman's come onto the ground for the Western Bulldogs at the expense of Shakira. There's Leroy Jetta. And an excitement machine today. He's going to go long to the square to Hill. We're great. This is back in the game. The big boys have been enjoying it off hands. It's surprise opportunities like that. When you kick it long and high, we've been screaming for it for the last decade, and it's back. We're loving it, Jono.
We certainly are. Monfils, great hands off the pack then. Clean and nearly scored. Well, he did score, nearly scored a goal.
Cross high. Picken 1 on 3 there. Fletcher at the feet of Dempsey. Cooney comes to Sherman, the sub that's been activated. Around the corner with a miss.
Got an issue at the other end of the ground though, Jono.
Yeah, Easton Wood coming off the ground. Obviously must have happened in that marking contest. Here we go now, having a bit of a look.
Maybe a hyperextension of his left knee. This is
and he's in a lot of pain, Easton.
Bit of a concern.
And a foot over the line has meant that this will be a ball up on the edge of the square. And the kicker is Easton Wood, in the very capable hands of Doc Landsberger there and Gary Zimmerman and the boys. One of the best medical staff that is around in football. Those two, Zimmerman and Landsberger. Rather unique moustache has Zimmerman. Fletcher, been a club doctor, I think, for about 30 years. Not a bad service.
Well, Jake Landsberger was a club doctor at Melbourne in the 80s, so he's been around a long time. He's got him
covered then.
He has. If there was Jake in the left corner and Zimmer in the right, Jono, and you were walking down the line, do you go left or right?
Depends what's wrong with you.
So you go to Jake for coughs and colds, and you go to Zimmer for muscle injuries.
That's right.
That's exactly it. And other things. Here is Paddy Ryder. Halfback, a high ball. Cramery over the top. Early.
Here's that space you were talking about, Kingy.
Advantage paid. David King enjoying it. Winderlick. Hill. Just messing around with it a little.
But it was a bit slow to pick up on that one, Kingy. Just early BT. You gave him 2 goes.
Yeah.
They handballed it to Hill. It ruined the whole thing. I was just going to let it unfold, Jared. But I think that's the beauty of this setup. If you can get it to a player with pace, you generally score. David Hill had to get out of the way then. He's getting a little bit selfish. He's had a great day.
So who are the 4 players, Kingy, that you're looking to get it to with that pace here, say, for the Bombers? Give us a couple.
Oh, certainly Jetta, Melksham. I think Zaharakis is quick enough. And, of course, they've got Ryder, who's also very quick when he wants to be.
There's Hooker.
What it has done today, though, Kingy, is if you've got 2 ruckmen, it has just destroyed the myth that the substitute was going to kill ruckman.
Yeah, exactly right. They're pretty happy down here, boys. I tell you, Baz is about to go off. But I think if you've got 2 quality ruckmen that can play in another position like Ryder and Hill can at full forward, that's an absolute luxury.
So the issue, Jono, is can Big Will Minson take that role, or has Tom Williams taken his position?
I think Will can, but I think they'd be really keen to get Jordan Roughhead out there as quick as possible.
Surely that second ruckman, Brad, has to be able to play forward. That is the...
Or both ruckmen.
Has to.
Well, they have to be. If you can't play forward as a ruckman, then probably you are in some trouble.
I think if Ace Cordy finds a bit of form as well, he's one that they may push in to try and do a little bit of that as well.
Can Jones play in the ruck?
Oh, look, he's got a good leap. I don't know whether he's got the work rate around the ground just as yet, or that endurance to be able to compete in the ruck and push forward at the same time.
Myers, tumbling ball towards Hill. Williams helped it through. Was it kicked? It may well have been kicked by Hill. It has been. The Bombers get another in front of 42,617. Wasn't a bad guess at the crowd, was it? And they lead it by 56.
8-8 to 16-16. I reckon been more than doubly good.
Great block by Hill on the line there. Myers dribbled it through. Hill, some good body presence.
Myers doing well there. Dale Morris and Dustin Fletcher, the only 2 players to have them played the entire game here today. So the deep defenders for the respective sides.
Do you reckon Dustin Fletcher has got the ability to play every game this year, or they play him about 18 to 20 times, Jared?
Whatever Dustin wants, Dustin gets at Bomberland. He's been there longer than Hurdy. He'll be telling James what to do.
Surely they do a Buckley, Nathan Buckley type thing, don't they? And they say that at that age, you're capable for 18 really top-class games.
Yeah, but he played in the pre-season games. He didn't have to. He just loves playing footy.
Yeah, he does.
He's in a role probably where he conserves more energy than most.
Thus, he hasn't been off the ground today. There's Hardingham, McVeigh, and now Watson. Hurley, another link in that chain.
In the air to Hill.
Does just that, Jared. Cross gets back for the 3rd man. Hill does a hang. He took a beauty earlier today. Tried to replicate it there. Sam Lonigan been pretty good today as well. So the Dogs' next 2 games, Brisbane and Gold Coast, both at this stadium. And for the Bombers, Sydney at ANZ and St Kilda here at Etihad. Liberatore, a famous name at Dogland. Ward, good traffic here as the Dogs mess it up on the half-forward line. There's the man we speak of, Dustin Fletcher. Incredible career that he has had, 329 games. Just a legend for the Bombers. On freeze. Hudson flies over the top. Now Hurley. Picken, tough nut. And the man, in case you're wondering, without the jumper, is Cranmery. And look at him, going on with it. He's got the tough nut Picken underneath. Cranmery and Picken going at it on the boundary. Last 2 to get up. Picken turns around and says something to Cranmery. Oh, you gotta like that. They've turned back the clock here today. Long bombs forward and a bit of a scrap, as well as Cranmery changes jumpers.
BT, let me put a Essendon scarf on for a minute.
Yep.
Just imagine if they happen to get across the line and beat Sydney. They took care of St Kilda. And then they beat Carlton in round 4.
So 4 wins in a row, yep.
Can you imagine what sort of build-up there would be to the Essendon-Collingwood Anzac game?
Anzac Day game. Boy.
Massive. I think it's going to be massive anyway.
Yep.
I've got a funny feeling Essendon may take care of a couple of teams along the way.
Yeah.
And that is going to be a very big game early in the piece.
Oh, incredible. The atmosphere at Anzac Day already fantastic. As we take another look at this, as Picken was there and Cranmery, and then Cranmery gives him one and it's on under there, and players covering them up to let them do their best work.
Big reception there, boys. Dustin Fletcher makes his way for a well-earned rest.
Yes, he's first time he's been off the ground today. The 22-minute and 3/4 mark of this final quarter. Here's Josh Hill. 4-bounce run on the wing, and now a beautiful little kick to the presenting Grant. Jared Grant started magnificently this game. The 29 goals last year, and certainly he's going to need to find plenty of those this year.
Just watch young Tom Liberatore come off the ground. He is absolutely spent.
Grant with just under 3 minutes remaining. Kick is offline. By the way, both captains today lead their teams for possession. Boyd with 24 and Watson with 32. Both on the bench as we speak.
Yeah, it's been a round 1. Fortunately, it is round 1 for the Bulldogs, because if it was somewhere deeper in the season, you'd be just asking yourself, what's going on? The work rate for the Western Bulldogs has been, for a side most independents think would be aiming up at prelim final or better, it's been as disappointing as we've seen for a long time.
But that's their strength, is work rate. And as we said before the game, when they get slowed down a little bit, they find it harder to break through and generate the run that they like to get to create scores.
I'm going to ask you both after this kick from Higgins whether it's a mental thing or whether it's a tactical thing that needs to be changed, and if so, how quickly can they do that? As Higgins comes in from a rather tough angle, always slides left to right from that pocket, as that one does.
I think you could argue the tactics because the zone isn't pushed up as high, but I think before you did that, you'd have to wait until the 3 guns out of the back line come back, because...
So Lake, Gilby and Hargrave.
Yeah. Yep. When you've got 3 more inexperienced players and some very inexperienced players down there, was always potentially going to be bombed in there if the midfield got towed up. I don't think anybody expected the midfield, with all Australians in there, to get as belted as they have today. I mean, you can look at the numbers, and everyone will have plenty of numbers, but collectively they haven't had anywhere near the influence. And the forward line, Jono, if that doesn't improve, the Dogs can't win a flag, as in pressure.
Well, it has to improve and that's something that has been a huge work in progress over the last couple of years. Consistently, probably not at a level that, you know, even when I was still wearing the colours, wasn't at a level consistently enough that that would allow us to win more games against the better teams in the competition. So it's something that they'll continue to work on. Look, I think the confidence is a huge part in it, and that'll evolve over the next couple of weeks, I'm sure.
Here's Myers. So the Bombers are going to record their first victory of the year here. And what a fantastic effort has been for the Bombers. Runners-up in the NAB Cup. A win here today in round 1. Fans are happy. Got the new coach. And this sort of dashing play has been the flavour of the day, which the fans have thoroughly enjoyed today. Hill tidies up a 54-point lead for the Bombers. As we speak, a collision. Oh, and Dog player looks rather uncomfortable, and Griffin as Watson pings away.
Well, they could hardly get those tree trunks to run in a straight line there, Joe Watson, but a terrific match from the captain. And there's the coaches.
The Royal Box.
Leading the charge.
They all get up and go. They've seen enough. 10 seconds remain in the game. And that man there, Paddy Ryder, has just been incredibly impressive today. Siren sounds. Bombers win. 55 points in front of a 42,500 crowd today. Absolutely superb. The Dogs, boy, do they have a way to go. As Rodney Eade and his staff lead the box. Tim Watson, the leading possession getter on the ground, and for the Bombers, a skipper. Joe Watson, I'm sorry, calling him Tim. He's been that impressive. He's played like an all-time superstar. Dustin Fletcher just keeps on going. 329 games. Let's go down to David King.
Well, here we are, boys, just walking down with James Hird as he makes his way through the crowd. It's a great reception, mate. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks, King. The boys are terrific today, and yeah, it's just a very good game.
Did you see that coming? Did you think they had this in them today? The first game, not sure. Had a great pre-season, but weren't sure how they were going to go in the real deal.
Yeah, look, I don't think anyone knows how you're going to go round 1. You don't know how the other sides are prepared, but we were confident we prepared well, but whether we're going to be good enough against a team like the Western Bulldogs was anyone's guess. So today was really pleasing.
What pleased you the most? Was it the ability to clear the ball, keep the ball in the forward line, just your even spread of contributors? What was the most that you'll take from the game, the most pleasing thing?
Winking, I think that's the most pleasing. But I think the first half of that first quarter, we were quite poor in our clearances, our centre bounce work, and the way they came back and got our clearances back on level terms in that first half was terrific.
We've made a lot of the coach's box, mate, but your leaders out on field were outstanding again today. Joe Watson, Fletcher rode the troops down there. You were well led on field.
Yeah, we've got some terrific leaders, and they copped a bit in the press last year, but I think our senior players led from the front today, and that was terrific.
Congratulations, mate. 100%, 1 from 1. Good luck.
Can they keep it going would be the only question he has to ask himself. And Brad Johnson, what do you reckon?
Well, for one, I love Kingy's work getting up in the grandstand to take the
impressive.
Take some comments from the victorious coach. I'm sure the players will be a bit disappointed that Kingy didn't get out there and have a chat to them.
You wonder who's playing this game, don't you? Such a big build-up for James Hird, such a big name at Bomberland.
Well, I think we've seen sides improve exponentially when they go to this forward press if they're prepared to commit to it. Fremantle last year, they went from easy beats to a force. They finished in the top 4. The Bombers have alerted the whole football world that they're here and they're fair dinkum, and they're going to play a high press, high intensity game. And a lot of people were prepared to dismiss it as pre-season form. Well, it's not pre-season form. This is a group of blokes who are prepared to make a statement, and right now they look as if they're going to.
Let's go back to David King. Has David Hill with him.
Well, we've come down to one of the players, Brian, as you've requested. David Hill, fantastic performance. Well done.
Yeah, look, it was a good start to the year, and you know, the guys really, I mean, we managed to really pin them back there, so it was enjoyable.
Looked confident, looked like you were competitive as an outfit, and your ball use today was outstanding.
Yeah, at times it probably early particularly, you know, lacked a little bit, but we managed to keep the pressure on, and as you say, once we cracked them, then it was good. Yeah.
What's the one thing you'd say that James Hurd's instilled in this group, or brought to this group, that we can see from the stands?
Well, hopefully the football speaks for itself. You know, we're trying to play a more competitive style, and I think we proved that today.
Well led, your captain was fantastic. The forward line seemed to function well. Very selfless outfit at the moment.
Well, that's what we aim for. I think that's what a lot of teams aim for, and hopefully that's what we saw today. Yeah.
Go and enjoy the crowd, mate. They're going crazy down here. Well done.
Beautifully done down there, David King with David Hill. And a very impressive Bomber outfit today, winning by 55 points. On the other side of the break, Brad Johnson and Jared Healy are going to take a close look at this game and show you some of the great highlights as well. Very, very impressive as a group. Jobe Watson gets them together before they go in. And today, an outstanding victory. 16-17, 113 to the Western Bulldogs, 8-10-58.